For a place like yours, it's pretty nice. I guess I could live here with you." The one who blurted this out at the front door was the mother of my ex-husband, whom I thought I had long parted ways with. While my mother-in-law acted all smiles, she ignored my poor condition and would exploit me for cooking and cleaning, a true narcissist at heart. Her son, my ex, raised by her, also thought the world revolved around him. I couldn't bear it and chose to divorce. Why are these two right in front of me even though I moved to a place they wouldn't know? And then, I was faced with a shocking truth. My name is Catherine. I joined the company fresh out of college and worked hard in the sales department for 6 years. Recently, I've become something of a career woman, being entrusted with leading projects. Because I was so engrossed in my work, my salary had steadily increased. I found joy in performing well and getting recognition, and since I had no interest in splurging on shopping or luxurious trips, my savings just kept growing. I had plenty of security for the future and was leading a fulfilling life until a certain encounter changed me. I attended a high school reunion and reconnected with a man named Bob. We didn't talk much in our student days, but that day, maybe because our companies did business with each other, our conversation strangely began. Bob worked in legal affairs at a well-known company. Our chat shifted from work to mentoring juniors, and then about our own lives, and we quickly became close, even promising to meet again after the reunion. Soon, we began dating and decided to get married within a year. However, after a modest wedding ceremony at a chapel, surrounded by family and friends, I was about to discover a shocking fact. One day, I fell sick. While Bob was concerned for me as I lay bedridden, soon enough, his mother called. "Hello, Mom." "No, it's all right. Just that Catherine isn't feeling too well." I could overhear the conversation between Bob and his mother from the corridor, but soon felt an odd discomfort. Seems like his mother was calling before she intended to visit. Of course, I thought he'd decline. I wasn't bedridden, but naturally, I wanted some rest without any disturbances. However, Bob complied with his mother's wishes and accepted her visit. "All right, we'll be waiting. I'll wake Catherine up." Hearing this, I was baffled. Why would he allow her to come over knowing I'm unwell? And even mentioning waking me up? Lost in my astonishment and confusion, Bob returned looking like it was the most normal thing to do. "Mom's in the neighborhood and wants to stop by. She says it's just for a short while." I felt bad turning her away. "So, Catherine, wake up. Just showing your face will be enough." Of course, it'd be inappropriate for his mother to come over while his wife was in bed. My living room wasn't even cleaned yet, and dishes were still in the sink. Despite showing concern, Bob hadn't lifted a finger to help. Pushing through my discomfort, I hurriedly cleaned up and got dressed before his mother's arrival. Throughout, Bob didn't offer any assistance or even look remotely apologetic. When his mother arrived, I was made to serve tea and set the table, with no consideration for my health. Their conversation was odd, too. They chatted amongst themselves, leaving me feeling isolated while suppressing a headache and chills. Eventually, his mother stayed until dinner. I kept my frustration hidden, cooked the meal, and finally collapsed into bed once she left. Bob has always prioritized his mother. He'd say he felt bad because they lived apart and often brought her gifts or frequently visited her place. I thought it was just him being a good son, but over time, I realized he always put his mother first. This behavior intensified, and just 6 months into our marriage, he completely disregarded me, always considering his mother as his top priority. Bob was, in essence, a mama's boy. Comparing our cooking, always visiting her house during outings, and his mother always indulging this behavior, clearly smitten by her son. I had planned to build a happy married life, but before I knew it, my mother-in-law's shadow was constantly between us. There's a reason she's so indulgent with her son, Bob. It's her spending habits. It wasn't just limited to coffee dates with friends or outings, but also expensive hobbies like traveling and purchasing limited edition luxury brands. Because of this, she often approached Bob asking for money. This behavior shamelessly extended to me as well. I was taken aback by such demands, something I never faced even from my own parents. Having been strictly taught by my parents against borrowing money, I was deeply shocked by my mother-in-law's attitude of taking it for granted. I never gave her a dime, but every time she asked, Bob would hand it over. Perhaps that's why she doted on her son so much. It's only natural to help out when mom's in trouble, right? That was all Bob had to say, even when I brought up the issue. Before I knew it, money exchanges were happening behind my back, and unknowingly our finances became tight. It reached a point where I pleaded. I won't blame you anymore, but at least don't hide it from me. When I visited my in-laws, to my mother-in-law, I was just a free housemaid. She took advantage of me, cleaning, cooking, even tending to the garden and cleaning windows. Still, I had to oblige for Bob's sake. It seemed like, somewhere deep down, she enjoyed bossing me around. Unaware of these circumstances, Bob never stepped in to help. Instead, he genuinely believed his mother's treatment was making me a better wife. When I stood up to my mother-in-law, Bob, trying to mediate, said something unbelievable. It seems Catherine's mom couldn't look after her much, so she's just embarrassed now, feeling like she has a real mother for the first time. True, my parents ran an old-fashioned diner and were busy working every day. But I don't hold any resentment towards my mother. Usually, they could have asked their only daughter to help with serving customers, but instead, they let me go out and have fun, taking up hobbies and lessons. A mantra my parents always had was, children aren't just tools for free labor. This was in stark contrast to my mother-in-law. I finally confronted my husband. I was defending not only myself but also my parents, who had shed tears of joy at our wedding. What your mom's doing isn't right. Just because I'm the daughter-in-law doesn't mean she can boss me around. And I don't want to constantly maintain your family home to perfection. I just want her to leave me alone. But the response I got from my husband was filled with anger. How can you say such awful things about my mom? Thanks to her, you're being a proper wife. Don't make trouble without being grateful. Furthermore, he threatened with, if you keep talking like this, I'll divorce you. He thrust a divorce attorney's business card at me. How about that? I'm dead serious. If you apologize to both me and my mom, we can discuss things. He had deeply rooted old-fashioned values. In his eyes, a wife was inferior to both the husband and mother-in-law, and she should obey them in everything. Since I resisted this notion, he became confused and furious. He probably thought threatening divorce would make me cry and apologize. But I was convinced that our marriage wasn't happy anymore and that things wouldn't improve. My husband said, think things over while I'm on my business trip, and left the next day. Seeing this as a golden opportunity, I immediately headed to a divorce attorney's office. I rushed into the firm and quickly took care of the necessary procedures. While it required various formalities to revert to my maiden name, I took some days off and tried to get everything done while he was away. The notification of our divorce being finalized and my husband's return almost coincided. You went that far out of stubbornness? Filing for divorce isn't something you do lightly. This is going too far, just to upset us. In his mind, I was a capricious woman acting out of a little rebellious spirit. I decided to play along with his perception and feigned indignation. After all, you've been ignoring me, just having fun with your mom. I'm fed up with always being sidelined. Why am I always left out? My exaggerated sulking hit the mark with him. He's the kind of man who loved when women showed such dependent attitudes towards him. Perhaps my act was convincing, or maybe he just wanted to believe it, but he was completely taken in. He became more accommodating, quickly agreeing to favorable terms regarding the division of our assets. He thought he'd humor my stubbornness until I was satisfied. He believed that once I felt better, we could remarry and resume our old life. But I no longer had feelings for him. I had divorced him to prioritize myself, so there was no way I'd go back to living with him. After completing all the troublesome procedures for the division of assets, I began looking for a new place to live. I fell in love with a convenient high-rise apartment near my workplace and decided to buy it on a whim. I hoped this new home would mark a fresh start in my life. While I enjoyed my days working and living at my own pace, one day, out of the blue, my ex-husband and mother-in-law came to visit. I hadn't given them my address. My mother-in-law made a scene in the building's entrance, continuously calling out my name. Not wanting to inconvenience my neighbors, I reluctantly welcomed them at my door. "Why here?" "Oh, it's a private investigator. I was worried about how you were doing, and Mom suggested we should check up on you," my ex-husband replied nonchalantly. Even though our legal ties had been severed, I was chilled to the bone knowing he'd gone to the lengths of hiring a detective without my knowledge. Stunned, I only thought about how to get them out, while my former mother-in-law, despite her age, acted carefree and childish. She tried peering into my house, bending over to see inside and just doing as she pleased. Just as I was about to reprimand her, she blurted out, "Your place isn't as shabby as I thought. It's quite nice. I could even live here with you." Excuse me? Flabbergasted, my mind went blank. I hadn't expected her to suggest living together, and her smile was downright eerie. I couldn't understand why she'd make such a proposal and pondered my next move. My ex-husband, grinning, agreed with her. "You must be lonely living here all by herself. That's why I brought Mom along today. Let's let bygones be bygones, okay?" He continued making decisions without my input. And it was clear from their actions that they both disregarded my wishes. "Absolutely not. Please leave. I don't need your forgiveness. Please, never come back." Having expected me to readily agree, my ex-husband was stunned. "What? Why? Are you serious? Why are you saying this? Bob came here for you." They were clearly surprised by my refusal. In my ex-husband's mind, I was still the stubborn wife trying to give them a hard time. He began to act arrogantly, as if he was the one bending over backward, doing me a favor by forgiving me. "You're gonna regret being lonely without us, you know?" "That's fine. Please leave. You're not welcome here, and I'm done with both of you." His perception was warped solely by his own needs, and he had no intention of understanding my perspective. Even when I made my refusal clear, he still believed I was just being stubborn. Laughing off my words, he tried to push past me into the house. Being a man, he easily overpowered me, and I ended up stumbling and falling in the hallway. "Ah!" A surprised shout escaped me, and shortly after, my neighbor's door opened. My ex-husband, trying to rush inside, bumped into me. The puzzled neighbor, seeing my distress, promptly went to call for help after I begged. "Please, call the police." "Hey! What the hell are you saying?" In my eyes, this was trespassing. When I also called the police and they found out they'd received 2 calls about the same incident, they quickly dispatched a patrol car. My neighbor, trying to protect me, let me in and locked the door. Outside, my ex-husband and his mother began pounding on the door, shouting their grievances loudly. "It's a misunderstanding. I'm her husband. We just came to visit. Hey, don't touch my mom. Catherine, please, tell them. It's your fault for not giving us your address. You. Not only have you tarnished Bob's reputation, but now you're doing this to me? Come out and apologize." His yelling was incredibly loud. Since it was a holiday and many of the neighbors were home, it drew quite a crowd, turning into quite the spectacle. Luckily, even though I was new to the apartment complex, I'd been actively involved in community gatherings and was well liked for being helpful. Even with the disturbance caused by my ex-husband's unexpected appearance, the neighbors were sympathetic and understanding. With testimonies from me, my neighbor, and other residents, my ex-husband and his mother were taken into custody for trespassing. Despite the inconvenience, my neighbor mentioned working in the legal field and even introduced me to a lawyer who specialized in stalking. Come to think of it, my ex-husband worked in legal affairs too, but seemed entirely oblivious to the laws he was breaking. He probably still is. Then, unexpectedly, my suspicion was confirmed in the most unforeseen way. It all started with a call from a mutual female friend, someone both my ex-husband, Bob, and I knew from high school. She mentioned having seen Bob walking closely with a young child. It hadn't even been several months since that unannounced visit of his. Could it be that Bob, who had hoped to reconcile with me, already had a new lover? If so, that's his business and none of mine. But, would his mother approve of him dating a woman who was divorced and had a child? Having already consulted a lawyer about Bob, I decided to hire an investigator. A reputable detective agency, hired through my lawyer's firm, started looking into him. And the findings were shocking. Bob had been having an affair even before our divorce. Even though I had long moved on from him, the sense of betrayal was profound. It felt as if the rug had been pulled out from under me multiple times. In Bob's mind, his world is distorted to fit his needs. He seems to place his mother at the top, with women, including me, ranked below, as lesser beings to ridicule and belittle. Including me, he seemed to think it was fine to mock and belittle any woman, considering them inferior beings. Given such hierarchical thinking, I could somehow make sense of his erratic actions. Having a wife while cheating, presuming it's natural to get back with an estranged wife, and all the while maintaining a relationship with his mistress, to Bob, all this seemed perfectly logical. With disbelief, I continued reading the investigator's report. Apparently, even though he had no intention of marrying her, he had hinted at a future to the woman he was cheating with. He gave her hope to keep their relationship alive. And my worst fear was confirmed. The young child he was seen walking with was, in fact, the child of his affair. He had been leading a double life. And the child was born around the same time as our marriage. The complexity of the situation made me nauseous. I was furious, so I sent a letter to his mistress, telling her everything. When she found out about everything, she was livid. She was enraged that while hinting at marrying her, he hadn't given up on reconciling with me, and she accused him of marriage fraud. But just hinting at marriage isn't grounds for a case. I thought she'd probably let it slide, but then it was discovered that Bob had taken a substantial amount of money from her under the guise of wedding expenses. And the money? It went to his mother. Her extravagant tastes knew no bounds, and her demands only escalated. To appease his angered mother after our altercation, Bob had booked an expensive suite on a cruise ship and planned an overseas trip. The money was intended for that purpose. Bob's mistress seized this opportunity and managed to press charges. My ex-husband faced claims for division of property from me, child support payments for the child he had with his mistress, and was charged with fraud. His savings quickly depleted. He had been frequently mooching off his mother anyway, so he didn't have much saved up. Their impressive family home was foreclosed on, yet the debts kept piling up. I had settled the matter of property division, so I had severed ties with my ex-husband. However, the situation with him and his mistress was a different story. They did have a young child together, after all. He quickly fell behind on child support, and his mistress was furious. His misdeeds were all exposed at his workplace after she stormed in, shouting at him. Despite working in the legal field, he had had frequent troubles with women and was in the middle of a trial for fraud. Naturally, he had kept all this hidden from his employer. His shady dealings became well known, and his reputation at the company plummeted. He was moved off the projects he had been handling, sidelined to insignificant roles, and the bad rumors never stopped. He couldn't handle the situation and resigned. When he tried to find another job, his fraud charges were already well known in his industry, making it hard for him to find a position. The mistress didn't let him forget about his criminal record, and once he realized he couldn't be picky about work, he ended up juggling multiple demanding physical labor jobs, day and night, just to keep up with the child support payments. Furthermore, his mother disappeared, pushing him to the brink of despair. Once she saw her son being sued, quitting his job, and drowning in debt, she swiftly disappeared, not wanting to get involved. However, she couldn't curb her own extravagant spending habits and ended up accumulating a lot of debt herself. With no son left to mooch off of, she continued her lavish lifestyle of buying high-end brand goods and indulging in luxurious meals, further deepening her debt. My ex lived a lonely life in a cramped apartment where he could hear his neighbors' voices distinctly. To make matters worse, a couple with a volatile temper recently moved in next door, frequently erupting in loud arguments. As for me, I continued to work hard in my role as a sales representative. I've taken on many new projects, achieving groundbreaking results time and time again. Having more time for myself now, I've also increased my study hours, expanding my expertise. Thanks to my specialized knowledge, I've gained the trust of my clients, and the company's revenue has surged. Not only am I viewed as a potential female executive, but there are even higher positions that I am considered for. Of course, I plan to work hard and contribute to the company. After all, it's my life. I should spend it doing what I love, living proudly and confidently. My name is Jennifer Smith. I've been married for 7 years and have 3 kids, with the oldest being 6. My husband is indifferent to household matters. He doesn't help at all with the kids. In fact, he yells when he comes home to find dinner not ready. He gets irritable and takes it out on the kids too. No matter how tough it looks for me, how busy or tired I am, my husband thinks it's natural for the wife to do all the household work. Before we married, he was kind and would indulge my whims. I thought I'd be happy with him, but his true nature revealed itself in less than 6 months. It's surprising how well he hid it. But now, being married with 3 kids, I think this is what most housewives go through. That's why I've endured it. However, my role isn't limited to being a mother. There's also the issue of caring for my mother-in-law. We started living with her 4 years after we got married. After my father-in-law passed away, she moved in with us, and since then, she has been a constant demand, complaining of pains here and there. Regardless of whether I'm cleaning or looking after the kids. She gets angry if I don't put her needs first. When I call you, why don't you come? As a daughter-in-law, you should prioritize your mother-in-law's needs. But with small kids, she could be a bit patient, right? This breeds resentment. You should be grateful you married into this family. A mother-in-law's word is law, he says, and sometimes, things get thrown in anger. However, 2 years into our living together, I realized that my mother-in-law's complaints weren't just whims. When I finally convinced her to go to the hospital, we discovered she was ill. I see, so when she complained about this pain and that, there was actually a reason behind it. So now, I have the added role of accompanying her to the hospital, managing 3 kids and soothing my mother-in-law on these trips. By the time I return home, I'm exhausted and just want to lie down for a bit, but that's not allowed. I once begged my husband for help in this overwhelming situation. Why should I have to do it? You're the housewife, aren't you? You're not working, you have a stress-free life at home. It shouldn't be a big deal for you. Don't rely on me for everything, he yelled. His utter lack of understanding makes me regret marrying him to the point of tears, though I try not to cry. You know, being a housewife isn't a real job. You're just doing what's expected. I'm the one who has a tough job, earning money every day. If you think being a housewife is hard, then why don't you work in my place? With such unreasonable demands, I lose the energy to even respond. Everything is my fault, according to my husband, and I've grown increasingly tired of this. But I remind myself that he has it tough too. He makes sacrifices we don't see. I try to convince myself of this. However, it seems like he does whatever he wants. On his days off, he goes out in the morning, spends time at casinos, or goes drinking with colleagues after work. He's been coming home later and later, to the point where I suspect infidelity. But doubting only brings more pain. So, I focus on getting through each day. Eventually, though, there's a breaking point, and I felt something snap inside me. I just can't take it anymore. I'm so done. I had decided not to divorce for the kids' sake, but even that resolve seemed to crumble. And before I knew it, I found myself clutching a divorce paper. That night, I waited for my late-coming husband. He returned tipsy, undressing from the entrance all the way to the living room. Normally, I'd pick up after him, but not that day. "Hey! Where's dinner?" I laid out the cold side dishes and served rice. "What's this? It's cold." "Well, what do you expect when you come home at this hour?" "What? I'm working hard for you guys, and this is how you talk to me?" "Thanks for that. But, I've reached my limit." Saying this, I placed the divorce paper, with my name filled in under wife, on the table. "Sign this. I'm just so fed up." My husband looked at me in surprise, but I just shut my mouth after saying that. What would he say? Would he ask me to reconsider, to try again? Or would he just sign it in silence? But he did neither. Instead, he laid out his conditions. "Fine, divorce. But you're taking the kids. I'll keep the house and car as alimony." The house was bought after our kids were born. A home we chose, believing in a future together. I thought he should be the one to leave, considering the kids. But no, he was saying I should go. And calling it alimony. I felt frustration, but as I watched him sign, I felt a clarity in my heart. Taking my belongings, I returned to my parents' house, where they welcomed me. They listened to my story silently, praising me for enduring so long. I didn't want to burden my aging parents, but returning to their home brought tears to my eyes. At my parents', I began a peaceful life. A life without getting scolded by my mother-in-law, without having to cater to his moods. How comfortable it is. I worried the kids might feel sad about the divorce, but leaving that house seemed to free them. Before, the slightest noise would bring a scolding from my mother-in-law, and the kids would quiet down. Now, they could be noisy, run around, and nobody scolded them. No interruptions during our time together. I should have made this decision sooner. I'm so happy now. Then one day, my ex-husband called. Seeing his name on my phone, I didn't want to answer. But he kept calling, again and again. Even with the sound off, he kept calling. The vibration from my phone on the table buzzed, signaling to me that he was calling. Annoying. I shoved the phone under my bed, leaving it for a while. When I checked later, over 100 missed calls. Crazy, what's all this? I thought, perhaps it's something important, and finally answered. Then I heard my ex, Kyle, sounding frantic. Ah, finally realized, huh? I thought. There must be a ton of problems now that I'm gone. I thought he finally noticed. But first, my ex-husband Kyle started scolding me. What the hell? Why didn't you answer the phone? I'm busy, can't help it. Busy doing what? You're probably just playing around. We're divorced, you know? I have to work too. That's why I'm busy. You're working? Yes, I am. If I didn't, we couldn't eat, right? What kind of job are you doing? It must be just a part-time job, right? There's no way you could handle a real job. If you called just to say such mean things, I'm hanging up. No, that's not it. What's this about the loan not being paid? What loan? The loan for this house. Why isn't it being paid? Oh, that one. Not that one. Why isn't it being paid? Well, obviously, because I didn't put money in the account. If I don't deposit, it won't get paid. Where's that money? Where's the money to deposit? You'll have to deposit it from your salary. Why didn't you make sure it was done? I used to deposit every month when your salary came. But if I put in my salary, there's hardly anything left, right? Exactly, your salary is too little. How are you managing until now? You wouldn't understand even if I told you. How much I saved, scraping by every cent. Even if I taught you, you wouldn't get it, right? If you could do it, there's no way I couldn't. Oh, really? Then you should try it. The saving that you look down upon. Damn! Mocking me! If you had just deposited the money properly, this wouldn't have happened. I'm telling you there was no money to deposit because your salary was too low, but you don't get it. Damn it. I'll show you. If you could do it, there's no way I can't. Just you watch. And with that, Kyle hung up. Looking at the disconnected phone, I was laughing. If you can do it, then go ahead. If you can, that is. This is just the beginning. A few days later, I got another call from my ex-husband Kyle. Although he interrupted me playing with the kids, I was curious about what he'd realized this time and answered. Hey! It's me! Which me is this? You don't know who I am? If it's a scam, I'm not falling for it. Idiot! It's Kyle. Oh, Kyle. You know, you and I are strangers now. Even if you say it's me, a stranger like me wouldn't know. After all, I'm trying to erase all memories of being married to you. What? So, what is it this time? I'm playing with the kids, so make it quick. What do you mean playing? I am playing. You wouldn't understand since you've never looked after the kids. Pretty high and mighty, aren't you? I'm going through a lot here. Really? Yeah, I guess I am in a pretty good position now, thanks to the divorce. Damn. I'm having a hard time every day. I know, I went through that too. So, what is it today? Mom's driving me crazy. Oh my, calling your own mother noisy, that's pretty harsh. Disrespectful to parents. What's wrong with calling something noisy? It's your parent, not mine. So, what's so noisy? She keeps saying this hurts, that hurts when I get back from work. Well, she has a mouth to say. She tells me to rub her legs, then says her back hurts. I rub her back, then it's her legs again. And she yells at me for being bad at massaging. Just like you, isn't it? She says your massaging was better. I did it for a long time. You'll get better at it eventually. No joke. I work. I come back from work and have to hear all this. Plus, she takes up all my time and then yells about dinner not being ready. Yeah, that's how it was. I tell her to wait because I'm busy, but she won't. What the hell is that? She's a parent. You said it yourself. When I talked about your mom, you said a housewife should be able to do that. You're a child too, so you should be able to do it, right? But I'm working. Well, it doesn't matter to a stranger like me. It's natural to work and care at the same time. You were a stay-at-home mom. You had plenty of time. You don't have small kids. I had 3 little ones, being chased around, looking after them and your mom, all while watching your mood. Compared to that, you're just working. What? By the way, is the loan okay? If you can't pay, you'll lose the house. I know. I paid the loan, that's why I have no money. No matter how much I save, there's no money. Yeah, it's tough, huh? Do you appreciate what a housewife does a bit now? How could I understand? A stay-at-home mom is just like an unproductive couch potato, right? Oh, really? Seems like you still haven't suffered enough. What do you mean not enough suffering? She calls me even when I'm in the bath. Even when I'm on the toilet doing my business. I've been constipated lately because of it. Oh, really? How sad. What? When I said that, what did you say? Hold it in, you said. Just hold it in. And about the bath, you said one doesn't die from not bathing. Just don't bathe then. How can I not bathe? I'm not just at home. You didn't have to because you were at home. What about the toilet? Even if you're at home, you use the toilet. But who comes to the bath when you're in it? She did. Even when I was in it, she was the most important. She didn't care if the kids got cold from waiting. She even opens the toilet door? Just lock it. I did. Then she banged on the door so hard, she broke it. How strong is she? Amazing. But it was the same when I did it every single day. That's why I asked for your help, but you never helped. That's because you were a stay-at-home mom? Yes. No joke. Being a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean you're a magician. That's true, but I was on duty 24/7, 365 days, taking care of your mom, the kids, and you. Now it's like heaven. Damn. And here I am suffering because of you. Oh dear, are you going to stop now? When I said divorce, you signed without thinking, right? It's your own decision. I'm having a hard time. There are many things you don't understand until you do them yourself. Hey, she's calling again. What should I do? What about that pain thing with mom? How do I stop it? Give her painkillers. There are no painkillers. Why aren't there any painkillers? You have to go to the hospital and get medication. If you don't, of course, you'll run out. Were you going to the hospital? Whoa, new info. I said it was hard to go to the hospital, but you didn't listen at all, did you? Amazing how you can ignore your wife's words, almost a talent. Can't help it. I was tired. I was more tired. I barely had any time to sleep. Are hospitals only open on weekdays? Obviously. What am I supposed to do? I have work. Yeah, I know. It was hard for me too. Taking the kids and soothing your mom to the hospital. When we got back, I was exhausted, but couldn't rest. It was hell. Hey! Can you help me out? What? You must be joking. I have a job too. I'm not a stay-at-home mom, so it's impossible. Can't you do something about it? I have work too. I don't care. I have to support the kids. An ex-husband who doesn't pay child support. I don't have time to play. But you said you were playing. That's part of being a mother. Can you please stop? The kids are asking to play, so I'm hanging up. Damn. Heartless. Better use the toilet before you really need to. Kyle hung up before he even finished listening to my last cheerful words. He must have been really upset. I'm sure he'll still face many troubles. He never did anything until now, after all. I smirked, thinking about how fun it's going to be from now on. Sure enough, the next day, he called again. Hey, what the hell is this? Apparently, my ex-husband still hadn't grasped that we were divorced. What do you mean? He said he asked Mom why she was turning the house upside down. She said a thief had broken in. Oh really? When he asked what was missing, she said her wallet. But when he checked the dresser she hadn't searched yet, it was neatly tucked under some clothes. Ah, yes, that happens. You knew? Sort of. And the other day, she pooped in my bed. That happens too. Why? She says she didn't do it. What's going on? That's because I told you she's got dementia. Eh? Oh, is this new information? I told you about it, didn't I? I didn't know. That's just because you weren't listening. There's no way my mom has dementia. If you think so, that's fine. She can still shop on her own. She never gets lost outside. Isn't there a lot of milk in the fridge? Yes, there is. She keeps buying milk, even though we have it. There are like 10 bottles. No one even drinks milk. That's a symptom of dementia too. No way! My mom with dementia? She's human, and she's getting older. She lost your dad and endured the loneliness. Isn't it odd to think she couldn't have it? Don't insult my mother. Kyle clearly didn't want to believe what I was saying. But as I talked about the symptoms I saw in his mother, he realized they matched what he was seeing. He must have looked it up while we were talking. Gradually, he began to believe what I was saying wasn't a lie, and his anxiety grew. No way! If she has dementia? Yes, she does. Who's going to take care of her? You are. I have a job. Good luck with that. I have to work. How am I supposed to take care of her? There's no use complaining, right? No, it's different. I can't believe this. My mom can't have dementia. It's your fault. You must have done something terrible to her. That's why she's like this. Seriously, you're hopeless. Now's not the time for denial. Shut up. And then the call suddenly ended. Ah, serves him right. Kyle's calls quieted down for about a week. I thought it was over. But there must be more he needs to learn, and when he does, he'll call again, screaming. I was looking forward to his hysterical cries. And sure enough, he called again. This time, it was about something he found out when he took her to the hospital. I went to the hospital. Oh? Why are the meds so expensive? Well, that's something you should ask the hospital, not me. That hospital is like a rip-off bar, isn't it? It's a hospital, not a bar. Thanks to that, I don't have any money left for fun. Oh, you had money for fun. That's common, isn't it? Of course, I'm good at saving. I cut down on food expenses, a lot. Does that mean you're also cutting down on your mother's food? Obviously. She's just sleeping all day. She could almost do without eating. That's terrible. If I can't have fun, what am I supposed to live for? It's my hard-earned money. Even if you save for fun, you don't have time for it, do you? Yeah, that's the real problem. So I thought about it. I had a bad feeling about these constant calls from my ex-husband Kyle, like he was venting stress. If you come back, everything will be solved. What kind of logic is that? You should just do it. You say you're working, but you're always just playing with the kids. That means you don't really have a job, right? If you stay like this, you won't be able to raise the kids, right? That would be a problem, wouldn't it? So, I'll allow you to come back. What a delusional thought. Look, I divorced you because I hated that life. Being at the mercy of your mood, taking care of your mother, having no time for myself. Why would I come back to that? No matter what you say, you need me. It's tough being alone. You need someone who brings in money. It's give and take. So, come back. I refuse. What? Also, I never said this before. No matter how much you save, if you feed your mother and kids properly, there's no way your salary would cover it. You must have borrowed from lenders, right? How did you know that? Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough even for food. Then how did you manage? Well, I was earning in my spare time. How? I'm a somewhat known blogger. What's that? I write a blog and earn from ads. I still do. I make more than enough compared to your salary. I'm not struggling at all after the divorce. Only you are. So that's how you did it? Yes. I was practically paying the whole house loan every month. So that's it. Then it's simple. Come back, take care of the house, and keep doing your blog thing. Huh? Then our house will flourish, and I'll be free from Mom. Stop joking. I wouldn't return to that life for you, not even a bit. Why so cold? I'm struggling here. You should struggle. You deserve it for being so selfish. I don't want to hear any more of your ridiculous proposals. I'm blocking you. Why? Come back and help me. Kyle was desperately shouting, but I hung up and blocked him. It really was the final goodbye. Serves you right. I exclaimed joyfully. Kyle, knowing I was making money from blogging, thought he could do it too. He started a blog but had no idea what to write. He just uploaded uninteresting photos, attracting no audience or ad revenue. He even begged friends and colleagues to read his blog. But it was a drop in the ocean. He kept posting photos for the few readers he had. I'm registered as a reader, but I doubt he'll ever earn ad revenue. Just when I thought that, I heard about his mother. She was as unreasonable as ever, screaming alone in the daytime until the police came. After that day, Kyle started missing work often. Even when he went, his mother would call and yell at his workplace. He was sent home early many times, and finally, the company let him go. Now jobless, he couldn't repay his loans and the house was put up for sale. It seems he's stuck in a quagmire he can't escape alone. Every time I hear about his situation, I feel vindicated. I'm enjoying my days with the kids now.